So this is CentOS 6 installation. Boot your DVD and select install or upgrade an existing system. So I'm going to install a 64-bit operating system. So skip. Say it analyze your hard disk if you give OK, and it take few minutes to complete. So now I am skipping this option. So click the next button to start the installation. So the default language, I select English and give next, and the keyboard layout is use English is the default option. Give next, and basic storage device is the local hard disk. Select it and give next. Before giving this option, you have to take backup of your files. So this is a host name. You have to give your host name. I am giving it as linuxhelp.com. So here .com is the host part. So the host part is necessary if you are planning for a web server or any other server machine. So the host part can be any other name. Give next and select the location and next. So give the root password. So give next. So it's a warning that the password is weak. Use it anyway. So here I'm choosing the create custom layout. So I'm going to manually create my partitions. Send give next. So here is my hard disk. I have 20 GB of space. So here I'm going to create the partition. Click the create button. Then select the standard partition and create. So here first the boot partition must be created. It is /boot, this is a mount point, and the file system type is ext4, and the size must be around, you can give it for 300 MB. So 300 MB is enough for the boot partition. So the boot partition only stores the boot information files. You OK to create the partition. So the boot partition is created. Now we can create the swap partition. The swap partition is necessary in case if you have low RAM memory. Here I have 1 GB of RAM memory, so I am creating the swap partition. In the file system type, select swap. So the size must be the double the size of your RAM memory size. So since my RAM memory is 1 GB, I am giving 2 GB for swap size. So next create the root partition. The root partition is the most important partition. It contains all the file systems of the operating system, and it is the installation partition. Select the / for root. And you can also create the other partition after creating root partition if you have excess memory in your hard disk. So this time I'm creating only the root partition, and I'm going to allocate the available free memory completely to my root partition. So that is the 18 GB 179 MB. So fill to maximum allowable size. So you don't need to mention any size here, and you only have to select this option, fill to maximum allowable size. So the 18 GB 179 MB will be allocated to the root partition. Click OK. So the complete free space is allocated to the /root. So give next, and you select the button format to format the disk. Write changes to the disk. So this is the bootloader. You no need to make any changes here. Keep it as default options. Then give next. So here is the package selection area. You can select the options. Here you can select the required packages from here. So depending upon your requirements, you can choose the packages. So now I'm selecting the desktop is the default. So I'm giving next to start the installation. So the installation is started. It takes few minutes to complete. So I am fast forwarding this video in order to save the time. So the installation is completed. You can reboot the system. So now the OS is rebooting. So select the option forward. So this is the license agreement. You have to select yes to agree this license agreement and give forward. So here you can create the user accounts. So any username you can create it. So I'm giving the Linux help as my first user. So you can create any number of users in Linux. So this is the user I am going to use for the login. So click forward to continue. So it is a password warning. So give yes to use it anyway. So because the password is too short, so the warning is showing. Here the date and time should be modified. Then give forward. So this is the key-down memory error. So it's no problem. You can just give OK. It occurs due to the low RAM memory. So if you have any high RAM memory, this error won't occur. So you just click OK. So this it doesn't affect the installation. Give OK, and you can also increase the key-down memory later. Give finish. So the setup process is completed now. This is the final boot up of the OS, and now the login screen appears. So this is the user account which you have created earlier. So use the password to log in. So this is the desktop of your operating system, CentOS 6. So you can see the network adapters are disabled. So you have to enable the network by configuring the network. So I am going to configure the network. So this is my terminal. So switch to the root user to configure the network settings. Only the root user can configure the network settings here. So now you can edit the configuration file of your network. So this is the path to edit. So using Vim editor. At last you can see if config e0 is my network interface name. So I'm selecting that, and here you can see the device name is e0, and next is the hardware address, which is the MAC address of my system. So now I am going to set the static IP address to the system. So the onboard must be set to yes. If the option is set to yes, the network will be started automatically during the time of the operating system booting. So I am setting yes. So and the boot protocol must be set to static. So here already it is in DHCP. So I'm going to set it in static. So next the IP address. So I'm going to give a static IP address, so which is my private IP address. So next net mask is the subnet of my IP. So next you have to enter the gateway. So next DNS. Here I'm using the Google DNS. So DNS1 and DNS2. So you can write changes and quit this file now. Okay, now the configuration is saved, and then now the network is also enabled. You can see the network icon at the panel, top panel. So here it is automatically enabled once you set the network IP address. So now I will restart the network settings. So the network is restarted. So here it is the enabled. It is connected. The E0 interface is connected. So open the browser. So you can check the network connectivity. So the network is connected. So that's all about the installation of CentOS and the network setup. Thank you.